Good day everyone, this is the latest weather update. For today, this is the October 3rd, 2011, 0830 Zulu, 4:30 p.m. Philippine time or 5:30 p.m. Japan time. We continue to watch Tropical Storm Nalgae as it moves across the South China Sea and approaching Hainan and eventually Vietnam by the latter part of this week. You can see it was last located at approximately 520 kilometers southwest of Hong Kong, or around 400 kilometers southeast of Hainan, which is right over here. Maximum sustained winds still at 100 kph, gusting to 130. Although you could see here, Nalgae has slowed down a little bit to 15 kilometers per hour as it continues to move westward. And you can also see in this visible image the latest developments we have here. The low-level circulation center has now become partially exposed. As you can see right over here, the upper-level clouds, the brighter colors, are now sheared to the west, displaced west from the center, and you can see what's left on the eastern half is the low-level clouds, the low-level swirls around the circulation center, and that is also being shown here by the infrared image, showing the convective activity is now displaced much to the west of the center, which is right over here. You can see you still have some cloud cover over the center itself. As you can see right over here, it's just partially exposed, and that also is being supported by the latest microwave image that we have here. You can see we still have I would say good, or I would say mediocre banding, low-level banding on the eastern half, and although much of that convection, much of that activity is now being displaced to the west, again due to that strong shear in the South China Sea. As you can see here, around 20 knots. Although you can see you have pocket of slightly weaker wind shear of around 10 knots, which is allowing this storm to maintain that good organization and remaining a strong tropical storm with winds of 100 kph. But as you can see on this chart, as it continues to move westward by south of Hainan and into Vietnam, that wind shear will begin to increase and will definitely cause influence Nalgae's rapid weakening as it makes landfall here in Indochina in 2 to 3 days time. But yes, as of right now, we still have a fairly organized tropical storm out here in the South China Sea, and it could still bring strong winds, gusty winds, also those strong surf on the coastline, not only here in Hainan but also here in southern China, and eventually here in the coastal sections of Vietnam. Actually, right now we already have rain approaching Hainan here in southern China. You can see those bands being shown here on the radar from China Meteorological Administration, showing those bands of light to moderate rain beginning to approach the eastern half of Hainan, and also taking a closer look at Hainan itself, the province itself. You can see still have the heavier bands offshore, but as you can see we now have those light rains approaching the province, and also those outer rain bands actually moving through the island now, and it could begin producing 50 to 100 millimeters of rain tonight and into tomorrow. But remember, with what happened to the Philippines, Hainan also suffered greatly with Nasat's landfall, Nasat's passage a week ago, which dropped more than 200 millimeters of rain in this region as well. So it's likely the same. This place will experience the same, if not more, amounts of rain this coming 24 to 36 hours. And you also have to remember, Nalgae is now moving slower compared to when it moved over the Philippines 2 days ago. Now it's moving at 15 kilometers per hour, so its passage over Hainan will definitely be longer compared to that of the Philippines. So it will likely bring slightly higher rain amounts for Hainan and into Vietnam as well. Still expecting around 200 to even 300 millimeters of rain for the next 48 hours across these parts of the world. And also Leizhou Peninsula here in Guangdong province, definitely going to be experiencing the outer rain bands there as well. And again, that will all be moving towards the coast of Vietnam by either Thursday or Friday, as shown here from the JTWC forecast track, taking Nalgae just south of Hainan by Tuesday, tomorrow evening local time, and continuing on across the South China Sea into Gulf of Tonkin, and making landfall here across the central portions of Vietnam by Thursday evening local time, approximately around 400 kilometers south of Hanoi, and then continuing into the country of Laos and into Thailand by the latter part of this week. As you can see, JTWC also expecting Nalgae to continue to weaken and perhaps make landfall as a minimal tropical storm by Thursday, as you can see 35 knots only across Vietnam, and then definitely going to be weakening to a tropical depression once it makes landfall due to that land interaction and also that higher wind shear in this region. JMA also showing the same thing, almost identical track of taking Nalgae just south, actually brushing the southern part of Hainan, and moving by tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening, and then continuing into Vietnam. The JMA is slightly faster with Nalgae's movement, although taking a look at the trends today, we kind of lean more with the GTWC's forecast speeds. But again, the main philosophy and main thing here is the weakening is pretty evident on these two agencies, as well as in the general track. And basing on these tracks from GTWC and JMA, do see those heavier rains moving into Hainan and eventually into Vietnam, and into Laos, Thailand, and actually much of Indochina. We have received news reports of dozens of deaths, actually, especially in Cambodia, due to that Mekong River overflowing, due to the heavy rains that have been falling through much of this region for the past few weeks now. And combine that with the twin typhoons that of Nesat and Nalgae, is gonna be adding to that huge flooding problems, just like what the Philippines is currently facing, especially the northern areas there. But again, the good news for the Philippines right now is it's beginning to clear out now, the weather, and also the floodwaters are beginning to recede. However, we do think a cyclone could actually form again by next week or so, the earliest. As you can see, computer models are really consistent on forming something just east of the Philippines by this weekend, and you can see most of them actually taking this towards northern Luzon. As of right now, however, we couldn't really find any organized cluster of convection across the western Pacific. You can see this batch of long line of showers trailing from the southern Philippines all the way to the Micronesian islands. This is the intertropical convergence zone that's usually present across these parts of the world, and we do think the next tropical cyclone could form somewhere in this weather feature called the ITCZ. Again, right now we're not really seeing any ominous looking storms or depressions or disturbances, which is good news. Do think Philippines and much of the region here will experience clearer weather for a change for the next 2 to 3 days, except of course Indochina and Hainan. And also taking a look at the wind shear map, just reiterating what I've been saying, the convection here is part of the ITCZ, although having really a difficult time of consolidating much due to, again, the stronger wind shear now across the Philippine Sea. As you can see, we have 20 to 30 and even 40 knots of shear. It's really going to be tearing any developing systems apart. Although you can see we have weaker shear here, a region of very light shear, actually just 5 to 10 knots south of Guam, and this is where the next cyclone could definitely form. But again, as of right now, not really seeing anything just yet. But of course, we'll continue watching this region for possible cyclone formation. And that concludes the update for today. Again, we'll have another update tomorrow as we continue to watch Nalgae and also the rest of the Western Pacific Basin. Until the next update, stay safe. Bye.